What's happening, guys? Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, we are going to review week number 4 of the NFL season, and we're going to hit you with our first installment of buys and sells. But I'll tell you who I'm never going to sell as my co-host. He is the man of the hour, and he is the man with the power. Jerry Sinclair, what is up?
Randy, you are just holding on to me like I'm Andrew Luck. I'm just rotting away your roster, but I appreciate it. That is for sure. I thought about doing a gimmick where I was going to read a book on my shelf and then be like, oh, I didn't see you there, but I opted out of it. How are you doing, my friend? It's been a week, which
Dude,
is too damn long, but
it is. This is, I got this podcast. I have the big bet tomorrow night with a good old buddy, Dr. Kyle. And then I'm taking a little 4-day hiatus. So of all the weekends to have a wedding anniversary, it's got to be the one with some of the most intriguing games that I want to watch. I'm hoping that after a long day of hiking, I can at least get through the Thursday night game. And going to hang out with the missus. But I'll be around, man. I'll be on Twitter at DWZ Memphis. I got to figure out who I'm going to get to host football Sunday school. It won't be you because you'll be hosting work at the work at the A job ain't nothing but work, Jerry. It just takes away from all the fun stuff. But that's been one of my favorite things to do, is taking live questions and helping people with their weekly lineup on YouTube. So you got to subscribe. YouTube.com. Go find the Dynasty WarZone page. If you're not into the full-length podcast stuff, because maybe you're already listening on Apple, I've not yet added in the Dr. Kyle injury review. And injury review is going to be key when you have stuff like the David Montgomery issue, things of that nature. So we're gonna touch on some of those tonight from a non-doctor's opinion, and then the football Sunday school. Can't emphasize how much fun that has been. I've my last 3 weeks, I am, if I remember correctly, 6-3 on prop bets. Did not have a good weekend. Fucking Jimmy Garoppolo. So you laugh. His prop was 240 and a half passing yards. He had 240 in the first quarter. I'm like counting the money, counting my bread, stacks. And you know what? It didn't come through. So it was a good weekend, Jerry. But are you ready to get into one of our favorite segments? We've had to retitle it. It's good people, good tweets.
oh, look at you. Okay. Yeah, what do we got?
We are the crime fighters that are keeping these Twitter streets safe from bad takes, because if you want to get done up, there is no way faster to get done up than talking a bunch of mess. So this is a good tweet from a good person. This is John Paul Hurley of the Dynasty Trade Calculator, and he was retweeting me. That was big. This goes back to January 7th, my original tweet. I said lots of Daniel Jones. I said he's on a lot of buy list right now, and I said the reason why: new head coach OC, the COVID year. He lost his best playmaker last year in Saquon Barkley. The remaining weapons were bad. He had a horrible schedule. And JP was kind enough to have retweeted me and said, nice to see what Daniel Jones is capable of with a full arsenal. I wasn't incredibly optimistic, but he could fix his turnover issues and peak. But at DW Memphis was. So, he gave me a little bit of love for liking Daniel Jones. Here's the thing. First of all, he is a good person. That was a good tweet because he was talking about me in a positive light. But he was my... hold on. This is for both.
That's not why it was a good tweet.
It was a great tweet.
It was a good tweet, not because he tweeted about you.
The crowd goes wild.
It was a good take. You had a good take. I'll give you some credit.
All right, Jerry. I'm just going to remind you of one thing as we go forward.
But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again.
All right, you've been told. Here's the thing: there's always going to be value when you do your rookie quarterback. So someone that we don't necessarily love is going to get drafted in the first round.
For sure.
This year it was Mac Jones. Everybody's like, well, if the draft was to get redone now, where would Mac Jones go?
Definitely not last. That's for damn
So, so,
sure.
so, I mean, would it still go? I think Trevor Lawrence, just based on the pedigree, still goes one. But it's pretty much. I don't want to say legend, but it's pretty well referenced and resourced out there that Kyle Shanahan really wanted Mac Jones at 3. He really did. He really felt like he was a slightly more athletic, more accurate version of what he had Matt Ryan, and that he could really process that offense. I think Jimmy G. I don't. Do you think he goes past Carolina? Do you think he goes past Denver? Do the Bears trade up? Still for Mac Jones, or do they trade up for Justin Fields still? So there's always value. Mac Jones is going to be fine. 2 years ago, who was the third QB off the board? It was Justin Herbert. If they redrafted the class of 2020, is Justin Herbert the last QB to go?
No, no, he's not.
He's probably going first. I mean, I have no issue with the Joe Burrow pick. I mean, he's worked his tail off to come back.
Yep.
He's played great. But you know what? This makes it really rough for Tua and the Dolphins, because now every time Justin Herbert is successful, they have to see that, and they also have to see the success of all the QBs that they gave up the pick for Mac Jones or Trey Lance or potentially Justin Fields or anyone else, because they gave that pick up. It becomes it can become a thing. How about 2019? How about the value of the 2019 class? Because this guy was the QB3 off the board, going in the mid to late second round of rookie drafts that year. How about Danny Dimes? You know who has a lot of Danny Dimes? This guy. And you know what? He had a hell of a rookie season too. Faded last year, really tough schedule. First year of the new head coach, learning the Clappers offense. But you know who was a value? You know who you got at a value in the 2019 class? Danny Dimes. Do you know in 2018 who was the most hated quarterback in that rookie class? Who the Twitter Dynasty sphere said was just erratic, it was never going to be any good, and was a waste of a pick. Do you happen to know who that young man was?
Who was that young man?
Was it Josh Allen? And we can find receipts. Don't make me pull receipts. They're easy to find. There was plenty of big NFL draft Twitter, Dynasty Twitter, Devy Twitter telling you that the Buffalo Bills should have taken Josh Rosen. How does that look today? Josh Allen, and this is no shot at Lamar because he's the clear number 2. It goes Josh Allen, space, Lamar Jackson, space, and then some combination of Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield. But he was the guy, and I have it in the GOAT League, Superflex. I got it the 303 in a rookie draft. Because no one liked him. Because, well, and then we'll go one more year. I have yet to confirm this, but do you know who I recall? Because most people are new to playing Dynasty. Do you know who I recall being the QB3 in the class of 2017? Because Deshaun Watson was going 1, and then depending on where you got your facts, was somewhere between Mitch Trubisky and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. Now I'll give you a pass with Deshaun Watson because he ended up being pretty damn good. His massage habits notwithstanding, but there were people that took Mitch Trubisky ahead of Patrick Mahomes.
Lots of people.
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't have time to find DLF ADP to go back that far because I was just referencing this tweet. The reason for bringing this up in good people and bad tweets is not to say that Jerry and I have all the answers. That's not what we're saying. We learn every year too. Because if I knew how to nail quarterbacks at a proficient level, I would probably be doing it in the NFL. Here's the thing. The guys that do it in the NFL can't get it fucking right. I mean, we're already questioning, did the Bears take the right guy in Justin Fields instead of Mac Jones? Now, this is going to take 1, 2, 3 years to play out. But what I want you to remember as the best listeners in the Dynasty and fantasy space today, what I want you to do is be very cognizant of and aware of the big, was this what all these guys have in common, by the way? Big, strong, athletic, toolsy quarterbacks. Mac Jones, not so much athletic, but he has tools. Look at Jerry. He's flexing what looks like a bicep. If you're watching live on you, if you're listening on the podcast, go look at Jerry. It looks like a bicep, only smaller. So Jerry, what do
Rude.
you think? What do you think about my theory that there? Because here's the thing: if you buy Trevor Lawrence, you and I was trying to trade Jerry Trevor Lawrence literally
Yeah.
before we hit record on this, and
Mhm.
Jerry's like his value's down, and Jerry's not wrong. From what I acquired him at versus what he's worth today, his value is down. But you know what? Where you acquired Mac Jones versus what you could move him for today, the value has gone up. And this is a Kyle Pitts conversation too. You have to be very careful at buying at the absolute tippy top of the market because you don't leave yourself a lot of room to make profit.
Especially when that tippy top is before he's played a game. But
It,
that's a
yeah,
different conversation for a different day. Listen, Randy, honestly, if I have grown more so because of any strategy that we have talked about over the 3+ years we've been doing this, it is the fact that I have stolen some of your super flex knowledge in taking the quarterback that people hate. Is because quarterbacks always have value, and we say it a bazillion, quintillion times, but it's not taken for granted. And it should be. There's a reason we say it so much, is because it should be taken for granted. Quarterbacks always have value. You could trade Derek Carr for a hell of a profit right now, couldn't you, Randy? I mean, I know he didn't have a great game last week, but up until then, he was doing great, and you could have gotten him for nothing. Those quarterbacks that come out of the rookie class, the pots of gold that go at 101 and 102 are always going to happen. There's always going to be a quarterback in that spot, and they're always going to go there, and they're always going to have a ton of value. It's the guy that doesn't go there that is going to present you the opportunity to gain value. That has been, like you said, Josh Allen and Justin Herbert and Danny Dimes and Mac Jones now. You just have to exploit it, even if they're not your favorite guy. Like Mac Jones wasn't my favorite guy. Josh Allen wasn't my favorite guy. But the shares I do have them is because if they're a quarterback in a superflex league and they fall to that point, you effing take them for this opportunity. It's an easy way to make profit. I don't know. I
and,
can't scream it from a mountain loud enough.
and everyone that they've told us, so with the exception of Kyler Murray, I have had my doubts. Not after last year, but coming into his rookie year, I had height doubts. I had this guy can't even ride the good rides at Six Flags. But you know what? I love the additions he's made to his game.
True.
He is adding more stuff to his game. Got to give a tip of the cap to Cliff Kingsberry. Not only is he handsome and has a sweet pad there in the desert of Phoenix, but you know what? They're really doing some nice stuff. And so he's the only one in the last 5 draft classes. The first overall quarterback in 2017 was Mitch Trubisky. He was the worst quarterback of his class. Of the 2018 class, it was Baker Mayfield. We can argue that he's only the 3rd best quarterback, and maybe Sam Darnold, our own buddy Mike Kinney. I'll put his comment back up on the YouTube stream. Mike Kinney said, "I think an Adam Gase-less Darnold is better now." So maybe Baker, who was the 101, is actually the 4th best quarterback in his class. Thank you, Josh Rosen. Danny Dimes, he happened to be in the Kyler class. Kyler's been everything that we thought he would be. So that's not shade on Kyler, but Danny Dimes has played fantastic. Justin Herbert, 3rd quarterback in his class. I mean,
Universally.
Yep. Let's all hate on the guy who's 6'6", 240 pounds, laser rocket arm because he didn't go to Alabama, because he didn't have Jalen Waddle and Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy and Devonta Smith to throw to. Let's go with the small, 3 surgeries in college, fragile, unathletic guy. Feels like a strategy we can build on. And then Mac Jones. Mac Jones was the 5th quarterback in his class. He was the 5th quarterback taken in Dynasty. So here, the larger point of this was just to bring up as a great point of conversation for the show, is you're always going to find Dynasty. Sam Darnold. I traded the 110 in 2 different leagues this year to get Sam Darnold. Now, can I ride the wave forever? Maybe, but I'm probably going to ride it for a while. And then, like any other investment, whether it's Bitcoin or stock, or eventually, you make some profit, and depending on the situation, you cash out a little bit. There'll be leagues where I cash out some Sam Darnold because I literally have him in like 90% of my leagues. I'm a huge fan, love Sam Darnold, and you know what? There's always going to be reclamation projects like that out there. So, anyway, wanted to use that as a segue just to kind of get the show started because we're getting ready to jump into some buys and sells and how to create value. Because finding value is Jerry, would you agree that being a good drafter is important when you're doing your startup and rookie drafts, but where you really find exponential growth for your rosters, especially if you're in a rebuild or in the middle, is finding that value and flipping it down the road? Like if you got Sam Darnold for the 110 when this season's over, are you going to be able to get better than the rookie 110 for Sam Darnold?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And
I mean, that's sort of the thing, right? Is everybody wants to talk about startups and rookie drafts, but it's why? Like, why? We're not looking for just good players. Obviously, you want good players. Don't get me wrong, but it's exploiting the positives that a person like Sam Darnold has. Like we just did we did our patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone, where we go big into Sam Darnold and my thoughts on Sam Darnold in the future. I'm not going to do that. If you want to hear it, you can go on to Patreon. But, if that's somebody that you don't necessarily believe in, you can still profit just by using Sam Darnold right now. So yes, you need to exploit short-term situations for long-term gain, and you need to continuously do it in a multitude of different arenas in Dynasty continuously at all times. And yes, Greg is being very nice. I got sort of lucky. I had some good running backs. He left the comment.
yeah,
It feels good. It feels good to beat him.
we're
That's
getting
what
ready
I'll
to
say.
talk about that running back, but I want to let the people know that this podcast is presented to them by manscaped.com. Now, I'm going on vacation, just me and the missus. We're going to be hiking, we're going to be out and about, but I want to be ready when the time's ready. I mean, you don't want to embarrass yourself. I used the term last week, it was very popular. The last thing you want to do is have that thing looking like a button on a fur coat. It's just unsightly. It's like a flesh-colored button on a fur coat. You go to Manscaped. So first of all, this thing is ergonomically designed. It fits very easily in your hand. You do your business, you look good. And here's the thing. When you do your business, you'll want to look good. Because first of all, it's you're standing there nude. And you don't want that to be the point of emphasis. Halloween's coming up, Jerry. Now, you're married, but do you remember back in the days of Bachelor Halloween? It was the
Oh,
best. You
yes.
kidding
We
me?
get. Hold on. Let me make sure she's not listening.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember.
I mean, here's the thing. You don't want her to go home with like my favorite go-to, a little story. I worked in Muncie, Indiana, home of Ball State. I was a bartender. Had some buddies of mine. One was the assistant coach of the Ball State men's baseball team. The other guy was the equipment manager for all the sports teams. Always had them hook me up with a baseball uniform. But the last thing you want them to think is that they're going home with a baseball player. You drop trowel, and they end up going home with a werewolf. Can't do it. It does not go over well. So go to manscaped.com. You use promo code ZONE. They will ship that thing to you. Whatever you get, they've got the trimmer. They've got lotions and all kinds of stuff to keep your stuff. By the way, the underwear they have top shelf.
Hey,
And
listen. I'm wearing them right now, and they are very top shelf. I'm not going to show you guys, but
well, I mean, it's YouTube. It's not Pornhub. You
I'm
can't you
just saying.
can't physically show them your trousers, but head over to manscaped.com.
Listen, I mean, if you care
There's a
this
link.
much about your damn dynasty teams, obviously you should care that much about your goods. So just handle it. Go to Manscaped. That's what I'll say about
Use
it.
promo
Like, come
code
on.
ZONE. Save 20%, 1/5. If I could get you a deal on Trevor Lawrence to save 20%, you go running like a scalded dog. Run to Manscaped. Use promo code ZONE. Save 20%. Make your man bits look good. Or ladies, it does not have like a man or a woman feature. It just has the name Manscaped. Get ready. Halloween, sexy Halloween time. You can't beat it. So, all right, Jerry, that was our good friends at Manscaped. I do want to hit you with two little nuggets of news before we get into some buys and sells and some how-to.
Okay, shoot.
Josh Gordon, 30 years old. He's a low mileage. What were your thoughts when you saw the? And by the way, he was activated today to the 53 man.
I bet he was, and someone will start him, and he won't do a damn thing. Listen, if he's free and you can pick him up, sure, but I don't give a rat's ass about Josh Gordon. We've done this podcast 74 times over our time together, Randy. And even before we did these podcasts, even before 90% of our listener base played Dynasty, people had this conversation about Josh Gordon. He keeps coming back. It keeps not mattering. If he's free and you have a spot, I guess keep him, but I don't really care. I can't imagine a situation where I'm going to be excited to have Josh Gordon in my lineup. No, if I can get anything for him too, if I pick him up for free and I can get something for him, if I can get a third, that's the easiest deal I'll ever make in my life.
Here's the thing: if like I have him on a couple of rosters, 30.
Did you just pick him up, or you've been holding?
No, a couple of them. He was just sitting there collecting dust.
Okay.
Part of that has to do with having so many rosters, but it's just I think I had like 3 out of 17 rosters had a Josh Gordon on there. Here's the thing: I have nothing because I'm not going to sell now. He still plays with Patrick Mahomes. Arguably, and this is no shot at Tom Brady, arguably the best quarterback he's ever played with. Not a shot at Russell Wilson. But you know what? With so many teams trying this double team, which it didn't work for the Eagles, but every team trying this double team. So the thought concept out there in defensive football coaching, when you play the Chiefs, is you put your best coverage guy, whether that be a corner or whomever, on Kelsey, let them play him one-on-one, and then double Tyreek Hill. So maybe Josh Gordon has a game. Sammy Watkins, in fairness, had a couple of games. And I'm not willing to say that Josh Gordon can't have a Sammy Watkins-esque game, but I know this. He's better than Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson and every other joker on that roster. So for him to have a game on a given week, then I'm looking to sell. If he has one game and they're not falling for the old banana in the tailpipe, then you wait till he has the second game. They'll come around. People love a good reclamation story. People love redemption in America. So for me, if you got him, if you picked him up for a few bucks a fab, cool. Am I recommending you play him? Absolutely not. But monitor the situation. There's always feels like that you're presented one shot, and you got to know when to calculated pull the risk. I do want to get to your boy David Montgomery. Monty is going to be out 4 to 5 weeks. I've heard you're not going to see him until after I think it's a week 11 bye, which is either right before or right after the Thanksgiving Day game, where they're going to play your Detroit Lions. Do you think we're going to see Monty before or after Thanksgiving?
It's going to be after. So when is that bye week? I just looked at it too. I think it's week 10. So,
it is week 10. And then the Thanksgiving game's week 12. That is correct. Check out the big brain on Jerry.
Yeah, you're not seeing him until after that. So that's horrible.
Why? You're getting ready to get Tariq Cohen back from the pup. This is week 5. Tariq Cohen.
You have Damian Williams, who, he's not like this great, sexy running back, but he's productive enough. He looked pretty good, albeit against the Detroit Lions. I don't see why you rush it, especially if you actually believe, if you're the Chicago Bears and you believe in David Montgomery. I don't see why you would do that. Because it looked serious. He was in a lot of pain. It looked like he was going to be out for a while.
There was thought that it was going to be an ACL.
Yeah.
So the move that I think you should do is, if maybe during rookie season you've got it's a Khalil Herbert. That's a person, not a thing, by the way. Khalil Herbert is like the third string running back there. And if you have him in Dynasty, because Damian Williams is kind of nicked up too. Now, I think he'll play. I know Damian Williams is going to be the big waiver wire ad. But kind of like we're talking about Josh Gordon, you have been given another window to offload Damian Williams for something. You never know. Because no matter how good Damian Williams plays, no matter how good Khalil Herbert plays, when David Montgomery is back, David Montgomery is the back, as in the running back in Chicago. This is not like hey, if he plays real well, maybe Damian Harris could supplant him or create a 50-50 role. Same with Khalil Herbert. That's not going to happen. David Montgomery has been balling. Now, this is a concern. Last year it was like a hamstring type thing. But it is the running back position, and not everyone's Derrick Henry. I don't know what he eats, but the guy is like a super freak. He literally gets 30 carries a game. I don't think he's ever even been on the questionable list. But for me, I'm using this as an opportunity to get out from under. Maybe if you drafted Herbert in the third or fourth round, can you get a second or a third for him? Profit. Just put it in your pocket. Can you make it the sweetener to get a trade done? I'm doing that. But no
Speaking
matter,
of that, actually,
please.
someone sent me a third for him, and I tried to offer a third with Damien to get a second, and he said no, but I forgot that I never accepted the third. So thank you for reminding me. I'm gonna go accept that right now. That's it. See,
I,
that's why you're a smart.
I
You're a
mean,
smart
I
man.
mean,
The
you
Randy
have
man can, as they say.
ask all the questions. Ask all the questions. Ask all the what ifs. What if the next 5 weeks go perfect? What if, this happens? What if that happens? And then ask yourself, is there a scenario where Deontay, I'm throwing all the wrong D's out there,
Mm-hmm.
where Jerry's boy David Montgomery loses his job? And the answer is no. He plays too damn good. So go get rid of these scrubs and get some picks. And we have a question from G. We're going to take this before we get to our buy and sell. G wants to know, what's the worth of Chubby Hubbard, Chuba, maybe autocorrect, I don't know. 2 weeks now and looks damn good. Plenty of nervous CMC owners. For me, I would rather just keep him. He is going to be like a flex type. We mentioned earlier, if you were listening to the Patreon podcast, which you're not because you're not yet a Patreon, but if you want to be, you can go to patreon.com/Dynasty Warzone and hear our thoughts on Kenneth Gainwell. But guys like Kenneth Gainwell,
Look at that. 2 pitches. We're doing great.
guys like Tony Pollard, and guys like Chuba Hubbard are worth rostering. I think you're going to see a lot of what we're seeing in Dallas across the league with these superstars. I think you're going to see teams, GMs, head coaches look around and say, hey, you know what, we have a lot of money invested in this dude. And can we be just as efficient as an offense if maybe, like Zeke's getting about two-thirds of the work right now. And Tony Pollard has been serviceable as like an RB3 flex type. And I think that's the same thing I would be doing with Chuba. So no, Chuba's a little bit different because he is talented enough to carve out a role. And I think the running back, because of the contract they gave him that will carve out that role in Chicago, is Tariq Cohen getting ready to come back. So there you go. We threw in a little bonus something for our man G because he's our man down under, and we love him. But Jerry, it was 2 shameless plugs. But if you have more questions about the patron, you can DM me at Dynasty Warzone or at DWZ Memphis, and we can get you hooked up with all the goodness over there. It's a simple. All you gotta do is go to the show notes. Any of our sponsors, Hate Brand Goods, Manscaped, Patreon, anybody that supports us. If you want to support us in that way, hit pause on this podcast. Just go into the show notes. That's in the podcast description. Hyperlinks on hyperlinks on hyperlinks. Again, you heard the commercial when the podcast started. Patreon.com /Dynasty Warzone. We also now have annual memberships. You can save 16% if you want to be a patron for a year by signing up for an annual membership. Jerry, that didn't say anal membership. It's a different membership. Different membership, Jerry. Different.
This
But
isn't our OnlyFans. This isn't the OnlyFans stream. My bad. Sorry.
no,
Mixed it up. Mixed the days up.
Different stream. But we're gonna get into some buys and sells, and You want to go buys or sells first?
I said it on the Patreon. I'll say it again. Buys are more fun. Let's do those.
Fire away, Captain. Give us your first guy. The first guy you're looking to buy. Go. And go.
Let's go Debo.
But really? Okay. I can get behind Debo.
He's not a dude that I don't think I have any shares of. So that's probably why I say he's a buy, because if I want him, I'm going to have to go buying for him. So the question is what am I going to buy him for? And it's going to have to be a lot, but I think it might actually be worth it, Randy. This dude is getting targeted just a stupendous amount of times. 12 targets, 8 targets, 10 targets, 12 targets in the first 4 games. Even with Trey Lance, he was getting targeted. Lots of catches. He's finding the end zone. Brandon Ayuk's been upsy downsy. We talked about George Kittle on the Patreon. Yet another plug for that episode. I'm worried a little bit about George Kittle. He's been inconsistent. Sort of Debo's been the guy that stepped up there. I think I am buying Debo to be an every week starter, fundamental, foundational dynasty piece. And I that is not where I was coming into the season, even close.
What are you paying? Because I think you could still probably get him for a second.
I don't think that's true.
You don't think so?
No, he's been too productive. Like, if I'm in a good situation, I would definitely give a first. I would definitely flip other players and plus a second. I think I would pay. Now, I'm not, I don't like to overreact to rookie classes until I know draft capital, combine stuff, all the metrics. So I'm not going to go super crazy and act like I know everything about this coming up rookie class. If I'm a slight contender, I'm not going to say I'm 4-0 right now, but if I'm 2-2 and I've scored a lot of points, I think I would move my first for Debo because I think he's going to put me in a good situation. He's just getting tons of receptions, so he has a great foundation, and that's just something that I love to see, and I don't think it's going to change with Trey Lance.
Well, I will say this. I do believe the way that he plays the game and the way that Kyle Shanahan has been deploying Debo makes more sense for how I think Trey Lance plays the game.
You have worry in your voice. Talk to me about the worry.
Well, I also believe, again, from the Patreon show that we were talking about this, and I will share some of the stats because I had a George Kittle take there.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like you look at the target distribution on this team through 4 weeks. And now Jerry knows the answer, but Jerry, I need you to pretend like you don't know the answer.
Of course.
So Debo Samuel leads the 49ers in targets through 4 games with 42.
Yeah.
Crazy to think Debo's averaging 10 targets a game, but he is. And don't forget his rush attempts and all the other funky ways they use him. George Kittle is second with 29. Who is currently third on the San Francisco 49ers in targets and how many?
You will have to enlighten me, friend. It's got to be someone great, right?
I mean, I was always kind of a Mohamed Sanu guy.
No, you were not.
Mohamed Sanu is currently third on the 49ers with 13 targets. So that's why, I mean, it's only been 4 games. But I just think about that Debo and that yak monster. And it's one of those things where how many times is Trey Lance going to get the formation going one way, turn around, throw across his body to, Debo 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, and then, Debo pinballs his way down the side of the field for 76 yards, or they just don't even cover him, which is completely rad and completely kind of him. And so for me, I don't mind that. I'm going to tell you, I'm doing the Memphis. This is a classic Memphis offer for a player in this price range. I'm going to offer not 1 second, but 2 seconds. I'm going to give you my 2023 because I'm going to sell that other GM. I'm going to sell them on Debo's injury history. I'm going to sell them on the fact that I'm taking the gamble that Brandon Ayuk does not reestablish his dominance, and that's going to help me sleep a lot better at night if things change and the target distribution goes to Kittle with Trey Lance, because you're buying some of that mystery in there, and that's why I would rather offer 2 seconds than my first.
Which is fair. When I say a player, I'm thinking like Juju or something, like someone that's
Juju's also worth a second. So Juju in a second. Yeah. I mean, anything worth a second.
I don't know if you could do that because Juju is just straight cancer.
That's not fair.
Narratively.
Yes, he's bad.
Okay, yeah, he's untouchable. So
he's not my buy.
I don't know if you could actually pull that off, but
he's not my buy. But I don't mind if you're going to acquire Juju right now, especially if you can get him like for a late second.
This season though? Because
no.
I would buy Juju, but it's a long-term play for next year, assuming he goes elsewhere and doesn't have the corpse advantage. We talked about it.
You're going to mothball him.
Ben
you're gonna
Roethlisberger
mo-
was
you're gonna you're
cooked.
gonna mo- you're gonna mothball him. You're
Yep.
gonna pack him away in mothballs, and you're gonna wait until he
Don't
signs
get
with it.
tricked and start him
When
one of the weeks.
you may
Just wait
have
it out.
to.
Well, yeah, but
I'm not, but you can. When I said I wasn't starting Juju the rest of the year, I got what the kids like to call heat. I got heat for saying that Juju was doo-doo, but this is not a Juju take. Let me hit
Juju
you
was
with
doo-doo.
let me hit you with my guy. My guy that I'm looking to buy right now because this is Dynasty. There's a lot of new redraft gamers that have joined us from the ranks of redraft. And they might be panicking after a couple of weeks and looking to move CD Lamb. And if I can acquire CD Lamb right now, I am in. Jerry, I have notes, copious notes, by the way. I have copious notes on this subject. So I'm buying the target dip. CD has went from 15 targets to 9 to 3 to 5. And, he's played 3 of the top 5 passing defenses the last 3 weeks. So believe it or not, those are pretty good passing defenses, and they were playing from ahead. The believe it or not, Philly, pretty tough passing defense, as is Carolina and the Chargers. And then we were talking about this because you were talking to Mari on the pod, on the Patreon as well. Dallas currently, as we sit right now, is $16 million over the 2022 cap. They save $18 million just by cutting Amari Cooper or trading him. And I think that's much more likely. They invested a first in him. I believe it was technically it'll be 3 seasons in like October because he came in midway through, I guess, technically 2 calendar years ago. But anyway, right before they paid him. So for me, I'm looking to get out of the Amari Cooper business. And what would I give up? Do you think you could move Devonta Smith in a first for him? Is Smith played well enough?
I mean, maybe.
mean,
I don't think it's absurd.
Let me hit you with the hard one. Long-term dynasty, Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb?
I think those are the same guy, honestly.
Is that
So that's why
is that meme from The Office where it has the one chick going, these are the exact same thing?
Yes, yeah. I think like sort of Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb are just all the same guy.
What
Like
about
you're
D?
happy
What
to have
about
him.
so you wouldn't trade DK straight up for CD?
I probably would in a lot of cases because I like him a little better, but I mean, I don't think it really matters in truth.
Let's say hypothetically you're in the middle, and we're going to talk about this when we get to the what to do based on
I
how you're
always
run.
want those players, no
Would
matter
you
the situation.
would you move Devontae Adams for CD Lamb right now if you
Hell yeah.
weren't contending?
If I'm 2-2, but I have, I don't know, the 7th most points, like I'm, there's a couple 4-0 teams, and even the other 2-2 teams have scored 50, 60 more points than you. Hell yeah, absolutely. But
Okay.
I'm the type of guy that's not going to try and band-aid my way to get into the playoffs and hopefully get lucky. Like I'm trying to rub your nose in the dirt. I either want to be first or I'm last. I am Ricky Bobby when we play this game. So I would absolutely do that in a heartbeat.
All right. Well, then give me your sell. So you've given us a buy. Let's talk sell.
I'm going to do – how many sells do you want to do? Let me ask that question.
Oh,
Because I got to
it's just one. It's one of each. We save all the
Okay.
others for the Patreon because we only got so much time, Jerry.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do an easy one then. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to say his name. It's Cordero Patterson. Get that man off your team. That was an
Say
easy
my
one.
name. Say my name. Oh, sorry.
He's 30 years old. He's blowing up, and he shouldn't be. That's that one. Mine is Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is
Oh, hold on.
just.
Can I call a timeout?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because if we're not going to elaborate on on Cordero Patterson, can I just have like a couple
Yeah,
of minutes?
go ahead.
Can I have a
Absolutely.
couple minutes of your time?
Absolutely. Love every minute you give me.
Jerry, you ever
Okay.
been walking down the street, walking like maybe with Mrs. Jerry, or maybe you're at the mall, maybe you went for like dinner, and you're going to walk it off because it's always good. By the way, a little health tip: good to walk for 10 minutes after you eat, helps the digestive process. So you're walking through the mall, and you look down, and you find 2 $100 bills just laying there on the ground. You ever had anything like that happen to you?
I have. Continue. What do we got?
Okay,
Where are we going?
so That's Cordarrelle Patterson. Unless you drafted him, like what would have been like 9 years ago. Unless your dynasty league is 9 years old and you invested a first because Matthew Berry told you he was going to be like the number one
Yes, he
scorer
did.
in his
Yeah.
sophomore season, and that's kind of a low key shot at Matthew Berry, but it's also a joke too.
I mean, he did have second round startup value going into his second year,
Sure
but
he did,
just
but
for
but
those who were not around back then.
but those of you that got this man's for like the 30th overall pick or the 25th overall pick in your startup, if you got him 2 weeks ago because you spent like $17 of fab money, you are playing the role of Jerry with his lovely wife walking through the mall and you just found two $100 bills just laying on the ground. You walked in not expecting to get anything. As a matter of fact, there was a carrying cost to this trip. And you looked down and not only did you pay for this dinner, but you're now money ahead. That is Cordarrelle Patterson. If you're not a contender, if you don't need him, get him off your lineup. He is getting so much buzz with guys like the ESPN show, like the fantasy footballers. There's got to be a GM in your league that would be happy to take this man and the points he's putting up. He just scored, what, like 30 some odd points?
Yep, something stupid.
You're never going to get a better sell window, ever. Because this is Dynasty. This is 2021. Everything that you just saw is going to live on in perpetuity for the rest of your life. Unless it's some random guy that looking back in 10 years is going to be in the miscellaneous P section of one-hit wonders of fantasy players. That's Cordarrelle Patterson. Pick up the $200. Pay for dinner. Come out money ahead and get this man the hell off your roster. Jerry, I'm sorry. Tell me about Miles Sanders.
Nope. It was good. That's why I wanted to ask, because that one's obvious for me. Mine's Miles Sanders, and it sucks, man, because I was really in on Miles. I always like the guy that's not popular, that running back that just nobody seems to draft where he probably should be, and then he exceeds it. It was David Montgomery last year. I really thought it was going to be Miles Sanders this year. And Randy, they don't give that man the ball. Ever.
Can
Not
I
even
ask you a
like
question real quick
Go ahead.
before you? So this is the second. So I would be less concerned if he had always played for Nick Sirianni, right? And they had always used him this way. It's like they're just kind of like Adam Gase with Sam Darnold. They're just not maximizing the talent. But this is the second coaching staff, whether it was Doug Peterson and Frank Reich was already gone, but Doug Peterson and his staff, when they were there and drafted him as high as they did, to then not use him the way that we as Dynasty gamers would want, to then see Nick Sirianni come in with a different offensive coordinator in Shane Steichen and a different quarterback in Jalen Hurts, and continue not to use him in a way that as Dynasty GMs we would like, that has to add to your concern, right? Because I just
I
thought of
mean,
that. Thought I'd throw it in.
it,
It's a pattern.
it's it is a pattern, and the problem is it's not getting better. Like week one, he got plenty of touches. I mean, he didn't do great, but I think he got like 100 yards. He had a couple catches. It was okay, Jerry. Good job, buddy. I think you might have called another David Montgomery, and then I just didn't. This past week, he get 7 rushes. What did he get the week before that? 2.
He had 2 more than you, though.
Yeah, he got 2 more than me, which is great. Except for nobody starting me. Nobody paid 4th round draft capital for me. Oh my God, that would have been the dumbest damn pick you ever did. We're
That
talking
move
about
was
eating dinner at the
terrible.
mall. I actually had four conies, so I had to walk it off. Otherwise, I was going to throw it up on the tile floor. Listen, Miles Sanders has been so disappointing, and I think he's a great talent. I think he's good. He's explosive. He can pass catch. I think he can run. He's in a shit situation, and they're not giving him the ball. You're right. The 2 different coaching staffs not giving him carries, it has to. I mean, it's something else just to add to the fact that he's not getting it. Maybe there's a reason that I just don't know. But every time I've seen the dude, I thought he was pretty good. They just don't give him the damn ball. And we play a game where touches are the foundation of how you score, of how you determine who you should put on your team. And he played an NFL game from start to finish, and he got 2 carries. 2.
How many?
Amir Abdullah probably has a game where he had 2 carries this season.
Oh,
I don't even know if Amir Abdullah is still in the league.
He is. He is on.
Okay.
He's the new man on the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm gonna hit you a little pop. So let's talk about this 2019 class of running backs. You had Josh Jacobs, your boy Miles Sanders. So Jacobs went 24 overall, Sanders 53, Daryl Henderson 70, Monty 73, Devin Singletary 74, Damian Harris 87, Alexander Madison 100, and then there was some Bryce Love, Justin Hill, Tony Pollard. I mean, it's let me just hit you with a couple. Dynasty going forward, Damian Harris or Miles Sanders?
I mean, I still like Miles Sanders because I gotta hope he gets the hell out of there.
That's his only hope, and I think out of everybody we mentioned, I
because
think
Damian Harris has sort of sucked too. I mean, he's gotten more opportunities, but he's not been great, and that's another guy that I sort of thought was going to be a good value. So that pisses me off too. Now you're just adding to my fury, Randy. Why do you do this?
So Jerry's like, why would you do this to me? I've got you all amped up. So I mean, I got to admit, I mean, this 2019, we always talk about the 2017 running back class as the all-timer.
Yeah.
With Kamara and McCaffrey and Hunt and that Mixon, Cook, that whole crew. Even I think Naheem Hines was in that group as well as Marlon Mack. I mean, that was a sweet running back class. Could this class be equally as gross?
I mean, it's close. It's close, and it sucks. It sucks because David Montgomery was the guy that everybody liked to hate on, and then he's the only one that's actually sort of been consistent.
Well, the heat with David Montgomery came from that really bad graphic on ESPN with
Le'Veon Bell
and power,
and the Messiah.
Yeah. Oh my. Well, my guy is going to probably concern some people, but I'm going Nick Chubb.
Oh.
Well, here's the thing. If he doesn't,
you've always sort of not been a Nick Chubb guy.
I like the thought of Nick Chubb, but what I don't love about Nick Chubb is, let me read you his targets to date, okay? 2, 1, 0, 1.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's always been the thing.
To his credit,
for sure,
that sneaky son of a bitch has 100% catch rate because he got thrown to, caught 2, thrown 1, caught 1, thrown none, can't catch him if they don't throw him, and thrown 1, caught 1. But that's the problem. I look at the last 2 weeks, and 20.
And they shouldn't throw it to him. If you want me to be honest,
yeah, 22 rushes, which is great. That's volume. That's the 84 yards. Okay, 8.4 points from a guy you're expecting to be your RB1. Okay, there was no cheap check down targets, no 2 or 3 check downs to save the day. Last week against the Vikings, 21 targets. And he did have the one catch, 11 points. Is that what you're looking for? I mean, literally, if this man...
It's like Derrick Henry before Derrick Henry turned into a Sherman tank.
The problem is that Kareem Hunt, his teammate, is not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere, and he has just as many touchdowns on the ground as Nick Chubb. They both have 3 rushing touchdowns. But here you go. He has got 15 targets, and he's caught 12. So he's basically anchoring his play every week on average with 3 catches for 40 yards on the season. That's 7 points. I mean, on top of his rushing total, that's around 55, 60 yards a game. This is no bueno, and this is how Cleveland wants to play the game. You're looking for that similar week 1 where he had like 90 yards and 2 TDs to get over 20 points, and you're looking to get out. I mean, I like to be able to give some value. So for me, I'm looking for like a young guy I like in a first. What do you think? What are your thoughts on Chubb?
What do you mean a young guy? Because you're not getting. I mean, you're asking a lot if you think you're going to get like Swift in a first.
No. You're not getting Swift straight up.
You don't think so? I think there's a lot of people that would do that. Well, I know you're not a Nick Chubb guy and you're a big Swift guy, but I think a lot of people.
I'm not drunk. Could I get Austin Eckler in a first?
I don't know. Eckler's been good.
I mean, what
Clyde
about not?
Edwards-Helaire, maybe, even though he's been a little
I'll
bit
take
more
I'll take
productive lately.
I'll take
Oh,
Clyde
I'd take it in a
Edwards.
fucking heartbeat. I
I'll,
agree. I'm just saying.
better overall point producing offense, better quarterback. Fuck, they just added Josh Gordon. What could possibly go wrong?
I hate you
I
so
mean,
much.
I know. Joe Mixon. What about Antonio Gibson, a guy that's not exactly set the world on fire? Antonio Gibson in a first. Here's the thing: Antonio Gibson averaging 13.5 points a game. Nick Chubb averaging 14.7. I will gladly give you that
How far
1.2.
down you going? Are you going to Chase Edmonds?
I most certainly am not going. But
Okay.
I would have a tough time at night not taking James Robinson and not
Okay.
taking James Robinson's coming off back-to-back 20-point games.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to not see him being the focal point, and it's bad out there in those Nick Chubb streets. So
It's I can hear you. I hear you.
you're gonna lean on a resource that is the Dynasty trade calculator because they still love him, and that's okay. I don't. I'm looking to get out from under. And by the way, Jerry, before we give into a little advice for the contender, the rebuilder, and the stuck in the middle with you, our own Steve Gambino, he wants us to know that on 926, one Amir Abdullah had 5 carries. On 927, Sanders had 2. That's
So
more than a double
literally
up.
in the same exact week, Amir Abdullah had 2.5 times as many carries.
In the same week? Criminal. Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you. Like, I would love to see Miles Sanders traded to the Dolphins. That would be awesome. Because Miles Gaskin's not doing it. Can't wait till Deshaun Watson gets there. Anywho, let's move this thing along. Let's get this thing ready to go in for a landing. Jerry, if you're contending right now, what are you doing? Is there players you're looking for? What are you trying to do as you're contending? Let's say you're already a contender. Maybe you're 2-2, had some bad, played some tough matchup luck, or you're 3-1 or 4-0. What are you doing? What players you're looking at? Anything that comes to mind?
I am trying to find good value for cheap as best I can. And I think Michael Thomas is sort of the best example of that. We just talked about acquiring Michael Thomas, but especially if you're a contender, I mean, he's in a situation that's great. He's an older guy, plus he's hurt. He's gonna be hurt for more time. So he's not easy to acquire, but much easier than his value will be once he is back. So he is definitely somebody that I'm trying to get myself over the top like that. Also, I'm not going to consolidate my roster quite yet. I'm not going to try and move one running back plus like Daryl Henderson to get an elite running back quite yet because injuries can happen and we still have bye weeks. But before the trade deadline ends, I am going to try and do that, and I'm going to sell out, and I'm going to try and win that mother so bad. What about you, Randy? I know you got some 4-0 teams. Let's talk about championships a little bit.
I'm looking at guys like Daryl Henderson. I'm looking at guys like Chris Carson. Can I pull a Memphis? Can I pull a sneaky and get him for 2 seconds? Chris Carson, again, fishbowl mentality. That's how I think. I live in a fishbowl. And Chris Carson, before the 4-point stinker, it was 12.7, 15.1, 16.2. We only remember the most recent. And the Niners are pretty good defense last I checked, especially in the front 7. Secondary this year has been a little suspect, but that's okay. Daryl Henderson, he missed the one game with the ribs. 15.7, 17.2, 16.6. Very solid. Now, when you get a guy like Daryl Henderson, you know that there's going to be incoming potential. What I'm not doing is I'm not falling and going to go buy the crusty, dusty ass James Conner. I'm not going to go, try to, like another guy I like is Zach Moss. Again, 15, 18, 12 points, 3 games in a row. That's a nice little RB2, borderline RB3, safe, solid, dependable, good offense. Those are the guys. The guys that I tell you, a dirt cheap guy you can get because we all hate him because we all love Mike Dave. We all love Cordarrelle Patterson's Mike Davis. He's only gotten 10, 13, 11, and 10. He's the guy you could probably get for a third right now if you're a contender. If you just lost Monty, that's the door I'm knocking on. Now, is he going to give you Monty production? No. But is he going to be able to help stem the tide until you get Monty back? Yeah, those are the kind of guys. But I'm not going out and acquiring the Saquon Barkleys, the Nick Chubbs. I mean, I'm dumping Nick Chubb. Aaron Jones is another guy I like. But you're not going to go out and pay premium dollar yet. Because the way my life works, the minute I acquire that guy, he gets hurt 2 weeks later. I'm gonna go big name scalping. I'm gonna go Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Christian McCaffrey. I'm gonna make that big move week 14, week 15, depends on when your playoff starts, right around that time as a contender. Now, what about as a rebuilder? Like this is right in your wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
What if you're going full Jerry St. Clair and you've been productive struggling? Now, I always say this. I don't want to make it sound like Jerry is the worst fantasy gamer and dynasty gamer. He's actually not. I just love busting this man's balls
No,
mercilessly.
well, I have certain teams that I do, I am exploding them. Um, so this is sort of the tough spot now. Because you just have to keep riding it out. You have to keep sucking. You've probably gotten lucky because you probably have some version of like Mike Williams on your team. So you've actually done pretty good at some point. But injured players, Jerry Jeudy, he's sort of cast off a little bit, still young. He's still going to be expensive. Definitely somebody, if you have productive pieces on your team, I'm going to go try and trade for J.K. Dobbins. I'm personally not a Cam Akers guy, so I'm not going to do that with my team. But if a human being wants to acquire him, I think now is the time because people have sort of less thought about the injury. He's not as hyped up, and he still has a very long time to be out. And that's sort of the same for J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers. Try and acquire them if you have extra first. Never, under any circumstance, trade your first-round pick if you're tanking, though. And when I say tanking, I mean you're rebuilding. You're doing the Jerry punt, not you're not starting your best player. Because if you're not doing that, you're a dipshit and you're an asshole and you should get kicked out of a league. So don't do that. Um,
I'm gonna steal your own advice and mix it in with some of mine.
okay, go ahead.
I am looking to move all the guys that we were just talking about. Every productive, crumb bum on every Mike Davis, I'm looking to move. I am proactively going to Mike Davis, to the CMC guy. If they don't have Chuba, I'm going to the David Montgomery GM and being like, hey, just give me a third. He's averaging 10 points a game. It's just a third. I am cashing out. Remember, Shane Hallam told us this is going to be the largest draft class in recent memory. And it's going to be a very deep class. Those thirds and fourths are going to be worth more than ever. And I am looking to unload all these guys. I'm also looking to get the hurt guys. I do like that a lot. Hey, can I give you a second and Cordarrelle Patterson for J.K. Dobbins?
Let me
Sounds
tell
stupid.
you
It
how
sounds
many
stupid.
times that's true. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it sounds stupid, but you'll be the crazy shit people do to contend and win will be baffling.
There is a reason I have an ungodly amount of Dak Prescott shares across all of my teams is because I did exactly that last year. I think another guy that, or another strategy to talk about is if you're rebuilding, is check the other teams that have lost players. If it, and try to acquire their young pieces and replace them with any extra first that you have. Now, it's not a guarantee that you have extra first if you're struggling. It's sort of my dynasty startup strategy. If I'm going to do the Jerry punt to have extra first, I'm always trading those away for, I'm trying to acquire AJ Brown, who's hurt, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf. If they have bad teams, but they also have those players and you have multiple firsts, flip the lottery picks, right? Like you want to have first round picks because they gain value and you can get good players and everything else. But if you can guarantee a good player, get them because there's not a guarantee that the pick is actually going to be good. There's a lot of Royce Freemans and Hakeem Butlers and you name it. We've missed on lots and lots of people. So try and consolidate, get those, acquire long-term assets that generally don't get hurt. Tight ends, wide receivers, pick on good teams and try and give them your aging productive players. If you have a Devontae Adams on your team, or you have, someone like, if you have a Nick Chubb, but then the rest of your team is poop, try and get them, try and get the picks. But also, if they're a bad team and they don't have tons of picks, they've just drafted a piss poor team and don't have vision, and now they have a bad team. Exploit their good young players and give them the opportunity to make more picks so that maybe they can turn it around for themselves. Randall, what else you got, buddy?
I want to tack on to that. Like, so these same guys we're talking about moving, like James Conner, go find someone who's a sucker
There you
and
go.
as a soft spot for James Conner, Mike Davis, and go out and try to get some of the underperforming rookies. Try to go out and get a Terrace Marshall. Try to go out and get an Amon-Ra St. Brown. Go try to, get a Michael Carter. Move these productive 30-year-old Cordarrelle Patterson types and walk away with an Elijah Moore. I don't know that you can get that done. Maybe you have to add a touch, but I mean that's what I'm doing. So I have one piece of advice for the person who's stuck in the middle. You're 2-2. You're not quite sure. I'm going to quote my father on this one, and he would have told you to shit or get off the pot. Make a move. You got to do something. Decide. Today is the day. You know what? I'll even give you through this weekend. But it's Declaration Sunday. We're either going to put our best lineup out there, or it's time to call in the dogs and start making some moves to get ready for. It doesn't mean you have to completely tear it down to the studs,
No,
but it means that it's time to start moving some of these middling guys and get some value. And Jerry, after you answer, we're going to answer a live trade question from the Patreon because he's in the group chat talking to us live on YouTube. So we're going to do that as a little bit of bonus after Jerry tells us what he's doing when he's stuck in the middle.
I agree. I think you're on point there. If you're stuck in that spot, I'm still waiting. Like I know that's not something that Jerry normally says because
Hold.
I'm either a first or a last kind of guy. But I think you do need to see another week or two, and you definitely need to make moves, whether it's blowing that mother up or you're going to go for it. You need to make that choice based on your situation. There's not a single strategy I could tell you or any other human being that plays this game on what's the best. You need to look at the team and you need to understand what your situation is and what the best route is. And like Ving Rhames, as Marcellus Wallace says, don't let pride fuck with you. Like if it's time to send that team off into the sunset and rebuild it, so be it. But if you think you have good quarterbacks and you have a good foundation and you can get your team over the top, then hell yeah, do it. But I'm not overreacting quite yet if you're a 2-2 team because sometimes stuff can happen. Like I have a great team that's 2-2 because I lost the first 2 weeks. It just pisses you off, or you lost a game by a point or something. So don't do anything crazy in those sort of situations quite yet for me. But Randy, let's talk about a trade, my friend.
Well, but before we do, I want to make sure that because again, I love picking on Jerry. He's like the little brother I never wanted. But Steve Gambino in the YouTube chat said I traded Carson. I think he means Chris Carson,
Chris
not like
Carson.
I hope he means. I mean, either way,
Not Carson
I
Davis.
I traded Carson because I'm assuming he means Chris because we were recently talking about him for Rashad Bateman. I'm rebuilding this team. Thanks, Jerry. Check out the big brain on Jerry. All right. So anyway, this man, Mr. Lion's Pride, watching on YouTube as well. And see, this is part of the thing about being a YouTube subscriber. You never know when you're watching live, and Jerry and I may answer your question because you know what? We can. Rebuilding dot 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 traded a 2022 first for Diggs, and I feel great about it. A late first. Jerry, what do you think? A late first or Stefan Diggs, even on a rebuild?
It's an easy choice. Like Stefan Diggs is not somebody like if you're doing the Jerry punt scenario. Stefan Diggs is not one of the guys that I'm targeting in a startup. But trading a late first to get somebody that's an elite producing wide receiver is one of the easiest choices a human being can make. What did we say earlier? Always find opportunities to create value. That's an extreme
You just
value.
did it.
Yeah, I mean that's easy. Even if it was an early first, that's like if Stefan Diggs is in your rookie draft in 2022, it's the whole rookie class, but you can also pick Stefan Diggs. Stefan Diggs ain't going in the middle. Like Stefan Diggs is going to be 101 or 102 or 103. So yes, I am absolutely trading a first for Stefan Diggs in any situation, even if he's not a person that I would target to build a young roster in the Jerry punt, which I like to call it the Jerry punt instead of the productive struggle, because I'm not struggling. I'm just punting 1 year, and then I'm kicking the dog shit out of every one of you for the rest of the time. So that's what I would say about that. And the way you are confident in your response, I'm going to guess you quite easily agree with that trade take.
You know, I posted this on the old Twitter box. I'm probably a good follow there too, at DWZ Memphis. If you don't
He's
have a
all right.
Twitter account, you might need one in case Instagram and Facebook crashes again.
Right.
But for me, it's like I need to start getting some sound bites from Pulp Fiction, like when Samuel L. Jackson tells Yolanda to chill, Yolanda. That's what I tell everybody. You all need Jerry. As Samuel L. Jackson asked in Pulp Fiction, I just watched this with my 14-year-old son. So much heat from my wife for that decision, but that's neither here nor there. That's a Patreon podcast.
You made him grow as a man, damn it. I think you
Hey,
did a good thing.
he wanted to watch it. We were supposed to watch Anchorman, but anyway,
Also good.
It is a great movie. Jerry, what was Fonzie like?
He
He was
I don't know, he's cool.
He was cool. That's the line from the movie. Correctamundo, Jerry. Fonzie was cool. And when it relates to Stefan Diggs and even Calvin Ridley, we're all going to be a bunch of Fonzies up in this joint, and we're all going to be cool. So, Stefan Diggs has averaged 12 targets a game. Okay? It was 12 targets a game, and he's had over 12 PPR points per game. Every game, he's had at least 12 points. His best game was like 17 points, and he's not had but one touchdown. Calvin Ridley, 10 points a game, and has only had one touchdown. The positive regression will come. Be like Yolanda, like Samuel. I'm Samuel L. Jackson in this story. You're Yolanda, and we're going to be cool. And if you can get Stefan Diggs for a late first, even on a rebuilding team, see, this is smart business on the case of Lions Pride. This is good business. You know what? I don't need Stefan Diggs, but getting him for a late first, holding him, let the touchdowns come, let the better matchups come. Like this weekend, is Stefan Diggs is probably going to melt faces when they play Kansas City, and you're going to get a better opportunity.
Even if it's a first in a second,
let me ask you a question.
Anyway,
so Mr. Pride here, he's a Lions fan.
Dirty
So
Randy.
I'm gonna take extra good care of him because he needs it. God damn it.
We do.
So he does. So if Stefan Diggs goes out and balls his face off this week, okay, this is a real scenario. Great matchup.
Yep.
Dallas could be blowing the New York Giants out, and it could be another Zeke game, and CeeDee Lamb does not eat. Do you see a scenario where 1 week from now, he could take a freshly balled out version of Stefan Diggs and go get another slow-weeked CeeDee Lamb straight up?
Yeah, even if you have to add some little sprinkles, you gotta add a couple chocolate chips on top of your ice
Cordell
cream.
Patterson.
Yeah, if Mike Williams, whatever you got to do, a Juju. Yes, I'm doing that in a heartbeat.
And here's the thing: then you would have literally turned a late first,
Which is going to be some mediocre, maybe hits rookie.
And how much did Mr. Pride just exponentially grow his dynasty roster?
Yep.
It's a great move. It's a savvy move because a lot of people would not have had the wherewithal to have said, "Oh, nope, I'm rebuilding. I'm going to hang on to this first. Nope. Stefan Diggs is struggling, and he's only putting up so many points, and he's going to be 28." And they would find every reason to talk themselves out of this trade. And this is the perfect trade because contenders are going to want Stefan Diggs. But Jerry, that's a show. Mark McGuire, I'm going to answer this because I know you're a subscriber. Who to target for a wide receiver, a buy at wide receiver? He has 3 firsts. Jerry, is there a wide receiver that you'd be giving up a first in that range? Anybody, top of your head?
I mean, I would acquire a shitload of wide receivers if you can get Stefan Diggs for one of those first. Absolutely.
Apparently, it's possible.
Yeah. So definitely one of those guys. Pretty much all of the young guys, for the most part, are the guys I'm acquiring. I'm avoiding the DeAndre Hopkins of the world because they are falling off the face of the earth. But if you've got somebody off the top of your head, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking I would like to kind of hit that delta of production and age, because you don't want to age yourself too much. I think if I'm willing to spend a first, Mr. McGuire, I'm going to kind of lay out. And if you're a contender, he's not really
I mean, we
mentioning
talked about Debo earlier.
he's not
Oh
mentioning
my God.
what his status is in this league. But if I'm a contender, then I'm going to wait and maybe spend two first and really get something real nice. So there you go. There's a nutshell. I don't know that I would do it today. If you want to go big, Jerry likes Debo. I think a first is too
Yeah,
much, but
I think if you have three first two, I'm waiting.
yeah, I'm going to wait and unload at the trade deadline and get like I did this last year
If
where
yeah,
I
if you're
paid
trying to win, yeah.
yeah, I paid Terry McLaurin and a first for Devontae Adams, and I won the league. And then after the season was over, I sold Devontae Adams for a first and Deontay Johnson. So literally the only thing that really
Okay.
changed for me is I
Interesting.
went to a young wide receiver that I liked, and I still got my first. It was in the same range. It was a middle first. And I basically loaned out Devontae Adams. I rented him at a little
Okay.
bit of a cost. I rented him to win a championship. And then the overall makeup of my roster, those are the kind of things I'm willing to do. But Jerry, there you go. Thank you for recording late. I will be appearing on the Dynasty Debates pod. It should be out this week. It's my buddy Evan Brown at FF Evan Olution on Twitter. He's good people, Jerry. He said, "Do you
Yeah,
think Jerry will come on?" I said, "I think
with
Jerry will come on."
with a flowing Twitter name like that, I mean that's just fantastic. He's obviously more creative than anything I can muster. Jerry
Well,
Sin DWZ.
well, listen, we're gonna get out of here. We want to thank you guys, but please rate, review, and subscribe everywhere. If you don't want to support our sponsors, Hate Brand Goods or Manscaped, again, promo code Zone, promo code Memphis, Hate Brand Goods, Patreon.com. If that's not the level of support you want to commit to, just subscribe, share it. Don't be afraid to share it on Facebook. Just don't do it when it's down. And I do want to read a review. We had 3 5 stars. I don't want to read them all at once, but we'll trickle these out over the next couple of weeks. This one says, I've been a longtime listener of the DWZ and can't believe I haven't left a review until now. The main show with Memphis and Jerger Banks, that's Jerry, is
Oh,
fantastic
that's gonna be a
on
thing
its
now, huh?
on
Okay.
its own. I'll tell that story too. I have time. I'll make time. But the growing network is getting better and better each week with shows dealing with Dynasty, Redraft, DFS, segments on injuries. They have truly something for everyone. Can't wait to see what the next offering will be. I got that coming in the off season. We're going to be talking trades and some really interesting stuff. And it's a good one. This is from Chad. Chad PAC Sung via Apple Podcast. Chad, thank you very much. Thank you for being a sweetheart. And let's tell the Gerger. If you stuck around this long, hell, if you're an hour and 12 minutes in, let's give these folks the tale of Gerger Banks. And so I'm in a league where I am contending, humble brag, 4-0. I have been riding the coattails. First 2 weeks I thought I would get cute and play Trevor Lawrence. The last 2 weeks I've played Mr. Sam Darnold to complement one Justin Herbert in my superflex. And but I got Trevor Lawrence, but this is a contending roster. I could use some running back depth. We have to start 12. We have to start 2 tight ends. Basically, you don't have to start 2 QBs, but you're gonna. And that leaves 8 position players every week. I love Trevor Lawrence. I can't wait till Urban Meyer gets fired and he gets a real coach. But anyway, in this group chat, I put, hey, I would be interested in moving Trevor Lawrence. I said, who's interested? And he's like, trade him to old Gerger. So I saw just the way it was spelled. I didn't actually say it, but I saw the way that it was spelled. And in my head, I was like, Gerger, that sounds like Jar Jar. And so that became Jar Jar Binks. So our own graphics buddy, Mr. Andrew Campy, of course, he photoshopped Jerry's face on Jar Jar Binks' body. I may make that my Twitter profile picture for a little bit. So that is how Jar Binks came to be a thing. No
Whenever I
kids.
talk about myself, I always call myself Jer. I don't know what it is. Whenever
It's
I'm,
Jer, not Gerger.
yeah,
I got you
Jer
now.
Jer.
Okay, okay, okay,
Jer
cool.
Binks actually even sounds better. But
Well,
yeah, I don't know what it is. Whenever I talk about myself, it's always Jer. Trade with Jer.
I'm going to leave you on two things. So for all the women out there that are into working out, or for the guys or anyone that has a woman in your life into working out, Hate Brand Goods is dropping their first women's collection. It's a matching pair of leggings and sports bra. It's really good looking stuff. It'll launch on Thursday. Might make a good Christmas gift. You can go ahead and get it. I know it's only October, but I got news for you. If Lowe's can put the Christmas tree out already, I can talk about Hate Brand Goods. Think about some Christmas presents. You head over there. Again, the link is in the show notes, and you can click on that. Shop around. You pick anything up, use promo code Memphis. It helps the show, and it helps us grow, Jerry. So, anything to add before we go?
No, I don't think so. Let's just hopefully you are looking at your team, and hopefully every one of your teams is 4-0, and you didn't lose by 0.12 in the Scott Fish Bowl like I did, which is just absolutely super duper. Love every second of that.
And I'm going to leave you on this. You can follow me on Twitter at DWZMemphis. You can follow him at JerrySendDWZ. And remember, if you don't offer at least one Dynasty trade this week, your nightmares are going to be haunted by Jer Banks. But until next time, remember, here at the Dynasty WarZone, we're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football. We'll see you back here. I'll be back tomorrow night with Dr. Kyle, and then we'll be back here with some more Dynasty goodness next Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Kyle looking